You know what nobody tells you when you're starting out with money? That the whole system is kind of designed to keep you working. Clock in, get paid, spend, repeat. And somewhere in that loop, you're supposed to save enough to one day stop doing all of it. But here's the part that always gets me. Most people are trying to save their way to freedom. And saving is great, don't get me wrong. But saving alone, that's not a plan. That's just delayed spending. Because the moment a real passive income stream shows up, money that arrives, whether you work that day or not, everything shifts. Not just financially. Something shifts in how you think about time, about Monday mornings, about your boss's bad mood, about whether you have to say yes to things you don't want to do. And the thing is, you don't need tens of thousands of dollars to start building that. You need $100 a month and a real strategy and the patience to let it work. That's what this video is about. Not the quit your job in 30 days version, not the crypto lottery version, the real version, the boring, unglamorous, actually works version that most people scroll right past because it doesn't have a fast car in the thumbnail. My name is Morgan. If you're someone who wants money working for you instead of always the other way around, hit subscribe and stay with me because this one's worth your full attention. Let's start with something that most passive income videos completely skip. What passive income actually is. Not the fantasy version. The real definition, passive income is money generated from assets you own, not from hours you trade. That's it. That's the whole thing. An asset does the work. You own the asset pays you. Now, that sounds simple. And in principle, it is. But here's where people go wrong immediately. They confuse passive income with easy income. Those are not the same thing at all. Building a real passive income stream requires either time or money or both upfront. There is no version where you put in nothing and get something back reliably. Anything promising that is a scam. Full stop. But, and this is the part that changes everything, if you're willing to invest $100 a month consistently over time, you can build income streams that send you money every single month without you doing anything extra. That's not a fantasy. That's math. And I'm going to show you exactly how the math works. Before we get into the specific strategies, I need to give you a framework. Because without this, most people try something for 3 months, see tiny numbers, and quit. Think about income in 2 columns. Column 1, active income. You work, you get paid, you stop working, the money stops. This is a job, freelance work, a business where your presence is required. Most people live entirely in this column their whole life. Column 2, passive income. An asset generates money. You sleep, the money still moves. You go on holiday, the asset doesn't care. You have a bad week, the income continues. Here's the uncomfortable truth about passive income, though. Column 2 is built using money from column 1. That's the bridge. You earn actively, you invest a portion of that into income-producing assets, and over time, gradually, quietly, column 2 starts growing until one day it can cover a bill, then 2 bills, then a lifestyle. That journey starts with $100 a month. Not because $100 is magical, but because $100 is achievable for most people right now, today, without a massive life overhaul. The question isn't whether $100 is enough. The question is, where does that $100 go? There are essentially 3 lanes for building passive income with small monthly amounts. Lane 1, dividend investing. Lane 2, high-yield income funds and ETFs. Lane 3, REITs, real estate investment trusts. Each one works differently. Each one has a different risk profile and timeline. And the smartest move, especially starting out, isn't picking just one and going all in. It's understanding all 3, then building a simple combination that fits your situation. Let's go through each one properly. Dividends. If you've been around investing content for even a few weeks, you've heard this word. But most explanations make it sound either too simple or too complicated. Here's the clean version. When you buy shares in certain companies, those companies pay you a portion of their profits on a regular schedule. Usually every quarter, sometimes every month. That payment is a dividend. You don't have to sell anything. You don't have to do anything. You own the shares. The company sends you money. That's it. Now, here's the key question most beginners ask. How much? Let's use real numbers. Imagine you invest $100 a month into a dividend-focused ETF, basically a basket of dividend-paying companies all bundled together that pays an average dividend yield of around 4% per year. After year 1, you've put in $1,200. Your dividend income that year, roughly $48, about $4 a month. That number looks embarrassing. I know. But watch what happens when you keep going and when you reinvest those dividends back into the same fund. After 3 years, around $3,800 invested, roughly $152 in annual dividends. About $12.60 a month after 5 years, roughly $6,800 invested, about $272 in annual dividends, about $22 a month after 10 years, still $100 a month. Never changing that. You're looking at roughly $17,000 to $18,000 in the account at a moderate 7-8% average growth rate. Annual dividend income, somewhere around $680 to $720. That's about $60 a month arriving in your account without you lifting a finger. And if you push to 15 years, we're talking about a portfolio value around $32,000 to $36,000. Annual dividends potentially reaching $1,200 to $1,400 a year. Over $100 a month, passively, from $100 a month. Now, I want to be clear about something here. These numbers assume you reinvest the dividends. That's called a DRIP, a dividend reinvestment plan. Every dividend you receive automatically buys you more shares, which generates slightly more dividends next time, which buys even more shares. That compounding loop is the engine, and it runs silently in the background the entire time. The people who get frustrated with dividends are usually the ones who take the dividend payments out and spend them early on when the amounts are tiny. That breaks the compounding cycle at exactly the wrong moment. Leave it alone, let it stack. The patience is the strategy. Okay, lane 2. This one's gotten a lot of attention recently, and honestly, it deserves it. But it also deserves some honest nuance that most YouTube videos leave out. High-yield income ETFs are funds specifically designed to pay out high income on a regular basis. Some pay monthly, some quarterly. The yields can look very attractive, sometimes 8%, 10%, even higher in some cases. That sounds incredible compared to the 4% we just talked about. But here's what you need to understand. High yield often comes with either higher risk or a different kind of trade-off. Some of these funds use strategies like selling options on the stocks they hold, called covered call strategies, to generate extra income. Others hold corporate bonds from companies with lower credit ratings, called high-yield bonds, which pay more because they carry more risk. Neither of those things is automatically bad, but they're different from just owning a basket of solid, stable companies. Let me explain the covered call ETF side specifically, because this is where a lot of beginners get confused. Some ETFs, like those built on covered call strategies, can pay really attractive monthly income, but the trade-off is that they often cap how much you participate in big upside moves. So if the market runs up 30% in a year, a covered call ETF might only capture half of that gain because some of the upside was sold away to generate the income. In a flat or slow market, that income looks fantastic. In a raging bull market, you might miss some of the party. So why would anyone choose this? Because some investors, especially people building income-focused portfolios, care more about the consistent monthly cash flow than about maximum capital growth. They want the income now, not just in 15 years. For someone investing $100 a month and genuinely wanting to see their passive income grow faster in the early stages, a small allocation to a high-yield income ETF can be psychologically powerful. When your account is sending you $20 or $30 a month after a couple years real deposits, you can see it reinforces the behavior. You keep going, you increase the amount, the snowball builds. Just don't let the high-yield number override your thinking. Understand what generates it. And don't put everything into one fund chasing the biggest payout number you can find. Balance. Always balance. Real estate. Let's be honest about something. Most people dream about passive income from real estate, owning property, collecting rent. And that dream is real, but the entry cost is enormous. A deposit on a rental property can run tens of thousands of dollars minimum, depending on where you live. Then there's maintenance, vacancy periods, tenants, legal obligations. It's passive in theory. It's very much not passive in practice, especially at the start. But here's the thing most people don't know. You can own real estate, income-producing real estate, for $100 a month through REITs. A REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust, is essentially a company that owns and manages properties, shopping centers, apartment blocks, office buildings, warehouses, data centers, hospitals, and by law in most countries, it must pay out the vast majority of its rental income to shareholders. Which means, when you own shares in a REIT, You're receiving a portion of the rent collected from real, physical properties. Not pretend rent, not theoretical income, actual rental distributions. Now, REITs come in different types. Equity REITs own the properties directly. Mortgage REITs lend money to property owners and earn interest. REIT ETFs bundle dozens of different REITs into one fund, so your risk is spread across hundreds of properties and property types. For someone investing $100 a month, a REIT ETF is the cleanest entry point. Dividend yields on REIT ETFs have historically ranged somewhere around 3% to 5%. On average, though, this fluctuates quite a bit depending on interest rate environments. And speaking of interest rates, this is the one thing I want you to understand about REITs before you invest. REITs are sensitive to interest rates. When rates go up, REIT prices often fall because higher rates make borrowing more expensive for real estate companies and because bonds start looking more competitive to income-seeking investors. This isn't a reason to avoid REITs. It's a reason to understand what you own so that when the price drops during a rate hike cycle, you're not panicking and selling. You're buying more. The people who made real money in REITs over the long run didn't time the market. They stayed in the market and collected distributions through the good years and the ugly ones. Okay, so we've got 3 lanes. Here's how I think about combining them with $100 a month. And I want to be clear, this isn't financial advice. This is a framework for thinking, not a specific recommendation for your situation. Always do your own research or speak to a qualified financial advisor if you're unsure. But conceptually, and this is how a lot of experienced income investors think about this, you might consider splitting that $100 across all 3 categories. The exact split depends on what matters most to you. If you want maximum long-term compounding, heavier weighting on dividend growth ETFs. If you want to see income arriving sooner and feel the psychological momentum of monthly payments, a portion in higher yield income funds. If you want real estate exposure without buying property, a REIT ETF handles that piece. None of these decisions are permanent. As your portfolio grows, as you learn more, as your income increases and you contribute more each month, you can adjust, rebalance, add. The point isn't to find the perfect combination right now. The point is to start building the habit of directing money toward income-producing assets every single month, because that habit, maintained long enough, is what actually creates the life most people are dreaming about. Let me show you something that changed how I think about this. And I'll warn you, it's going to feel slow at first, and then it's going to feel fast in a way that almost doesn't seem fair. Let's map out $100 a month invested in a combination income portfolio. Let's assume a blended average return of around 7% annually, including both growth and dividend reinvestment over several time horizons. 5 years in, roughly $7,000 to $7,200 in the account. Annual passive income from dividends and distributions, somewhere between $200 and $280, depending on your specific allocations. That's maybe $20 a month. That's one decent dinner, not life-changing. But this is where most people make a critical mistake. They see $20 a month after 5 years of $100 monthly contributions, and they think this isn't working. This isn't worth it. I'm doing something wrong. They're not doing something wrong. They're just standing at the base of the curve, looking up, not seeing what's coming on the other side. Roughly $17,000 to $18,000 in the portfolio. Annual passive income, potentially $600 to $900, depending on your mix. That's $50 to $75 a month, still modest. Year 15, portfolio approaches $32,000 to $38,000, depending on market conditions. Annual passive income, $1,100 to $1,500 a year, around $90 to $125 a month. The portfolio could be sitting somewhere around $52,000 to $60,000 or higher. Annual passive income, potentially $1,800 to $2,400 a year. That's $150 to $200 a month consistently from an account you fed with just $100 a month for 20 years. You contributed $24,000. The income side, the growth, the compounding, the reinvested dividends built the rest. And here's the part that gets really interesting. At that 20-year mark, your portfolio is generating enough monthly income to fund itself. If you wanted to stop contributing and just let it run, the income it generates can be reinvested on its own. The machine has started feeding itself. That is the moment passive income becomes truly passive. Now I want to talk about the stuff that actually kills passive income portfolios. Because the math above only works if certain mistakes are avoided. And these aren't complicated mistakes. They're incredibly human ones. Mistake 1, stopping during a down market. Markets drop sometimes sharply. And when they do, the balance in your account goes down. That feels terrible, especially in the early stages when the balance is small enough that a 20% drop feels personal. But here's the reality. When markets drop, your $100 that month buys more shares than it did 3 months ago. More shares means more future dividends. A down market, when you're in the accumulation phase, is not an enemy, it's a discount. The investors who pull their money out when prices fall or stop contributing to wait and see, they're making the mathematically wrong move at exactly the wrong time. Mistake 2, chasing the highest yield. When you find a fund paying 12% or 15% and these exist, your first instinct might be, why would I own the 4% fund when this one pays 3 times as much? Because yield doesn't exist in isolation. A very high yield almost always signals either higher risk or a fund that's paying out more than it earns, which eats into your principal over time. There's a concept called return of capital, where the fund literally gives you your own money back labeled as income. It looks good short term. It silently hollows out your investment long term. Understand what you own. Yield alone is not a strategy. Mistake 3, checking the balance too often. This sounds almost too simple to mention, but behavioral finance research is very clear on this. The more frequently investors check their portfolio, the more likely they are to make reactive decisions. Reactive decisions, selling when scared, changing strategy when bored, consistently hurt long-term returns. Set your contributions to automatic. Check your portfolio quarterly. Otherwise, you're giving your brain too many opportunities to talk you out of something that needs time to work. Mistake 4, waiting until you have more to invest. I'll start when I have $500 a month to put in. I'll start properly after I pay off this one thing. I'll get more serious about this next year. Every month you delay is a month of compounding that doesn't happen. And in the early years, those are the most important months because that early money has the longest time to grow. $100 started today is worth significantly more in real compound terms than $200 started in 2 years. The time in the market matters more than the size of the contribution at the beginning. Start with whatever is real and available right now. I want to take a moment here and be honest with you about something. The first year of building passive income with $100 a month does not feel exciting. You're going to put $1,200 into accounts over 12 months. The dividends might total somewhere between $40 and $60 for the year. Your quarterly payment might be $11. You're going to check the app, you're going to look at that number, and something in your brain is going to whisper, this is pointless. That whisper is a liar. Because what's actually happening that first year isn't just $11. What's happening is you're building a habit that most people never build. You're learning to delay gratification in a world designed to prevent it. You're training your behavior, and behavior is the actual foundation of every wealth story that doesn't involve luck or inheritance. The money follows the behavior, not the other way around. Year 2 gets a little more interesting. Year 3 starts to feel real. By year 5, the account has a weight to it. By year 10, you look at it differently. It's no longer savings. It's infrastructure. It's something generating income alongside you, whether you're working or not. And that shift from seeing your portfolio as a savings account to seeing it as a second income source, that's when everything changes psychologically. You stop asking, can I afford this? You start asking, does this help me or hurt me? Those are different questions. They lead to very different lives. Here's something worth thinking about. $100 a month is the starting point, not the ceiling. Because here's what tends to happen naturally. If you stay consistent and keep building, your income grows. Maybe slowly at first, a raise here, a skill developed there, a side income that builds over time. And every time your income grows, you face a choice. Spend it all on a bigger lifestyle or redirect a portion of it toward the passive income engine you've already started. The people who build meaningful passive income streams over time are the ones who treat income growth as an opportunity to accelerate, not as permission to upgrade everything immediately. If your monthly contributions go from $100 to $150 after a raise, and then to $200 a couple years later, and eventually to $300, the compound math changes dramatically. Running the same 7% blended return scenario, if you start at $100 a month and increase by $25 every 2 years, so $100, then $125, then $150, then $175, reaching $200 a month by year 10 year portfolio. At the 10-year mark could be significantly higher than the flat $100 scenario, potentially $25,000 to $30,000 or more. Annual passive income at that level, somewhere around $875 to $1,000 $200 a year, depending on your specific holdings. Close to $100 a month in passive income from a portfolio built on modest incremental contributions. That's the version of this that feels real. That's the version where passive income starts covering actual things in your life. A utility bill, a grocery shop, a monthly subscription. Eventually, for some people, after enough years, a mortgage payment or more. The compounding math doesn't change. Your job is to keep feeding it and not stop. Okay, let's make this actionable, because information without a next step is just entertainment. Here's what getting started with $100 a month toward passive income actually looks like in practice. Step 1. Open a brokerage account if you don't already have one. Look for regulated platforms in your country with low fees. Transaction costs matter more when you're investing small amounts regularly. Even a $5 fee per purchase eats a significant percentage of a $100 contribution. Many modern brokerages allow commission-free ETF investing. Find one of those. Step 2. Choose your initial allocation. As a starting framework, and again, this is not specific financial advice, many income-focused investors think about something like a core of dividend growth ETFs, supplemented with a smaller portion in income-focused or REIT ETFs. The exact percentages depend on your age, timeline, and income needs. Do your research, understand what you're buying, and start simple. 1 or 2 funds is fine. You don't need 8. Step 3, automate the contribution. Set up a recurring transfer the day after your income lands. Not when you remember, not when you feel motivated. Automatically, the moment you rely on willpower to fund an investment, you've introduced a failure point. Remove willpower from the equation. Step 4, set a reinvestment rule. Turn on dividend reinvestment if your platform offers it. Every dividend that arrives should automatically purchase more shares. Do not turn this off. Do not redirect dividends to your spending account until your passive income is meaningfully large and you actually need the cash. Step 5, commit to a minimum 12-month no-change window. For the first year, don't touch the allocation, don't swap funds, don't react to headlines, just contribute, reinvest, and let it run. After 12 months, you can evaluate with actual data instead of with emotion. That's it. 5 steps, none of them complicated, all of them requiring consistency over cleverness. I want to leave you with something that goes beyond the numbers. Most people work for money their entire lives. They exchange time for income. That's the default setting, and it's not wrong. It's just limited, because time is the one resource you can never buy back. Passive income is really just a way of gradually buying time, freeing yourself hour by hour, month by month from having to trade your presence for money. That might start at $20 a month, then $50, then $100. And eventually, for those who stay consistent long enough, something real, something that means a different kind of life. Most people never start because the beginning looks too small. They can't see a future in $11 of quarterly dividends. So they keep working, keep spending, keep waiting for the moment when it makes sense to start. But the math doesn't care about the moment. The math cares about the start date. The best time to start building passive income was 10 years ago. The second best time is today, $100 a month. That's all it takes to get into the game. Not to win immediately, not to retire next year, but to begin the process of building something that grows alongside you quietly, automatically, without needing your attention every day. And that quiet thing built over years, that's what eventually becomes loud. If this video helped you see passive income differently, not as a fantasy, but as a real, buildable thing, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button. And in the comments below, drop the number that made you think differently. Was it the 15-year projection? The compounding math? The behavior mistakes? Because I read every comment. And knowing what actually lands for you, that helps me make the next video better. I'll see you there.